Stories are the most powerful thing on earth. They are literally life and death. Wars are waged based on the story of who is the hero and who is the villain. You are the result of a story your parents told each other, the one-night stand, the soulmate, and friends who became so much more. Life and death. So wouldn't you like to understand them better, these stories? How Story Works, an elegant guide to the craft of storytelling by Lonnie Diane Rich, demystifies stories and helps you understand why you love what you love, why you hate what you hate, and why prologues are almost always a bad idea. How Story Works by Lonnie Diane Rich. Available on Amazon in ebook, audiobook, and paperback form. Get your copy today.
Welcome to Still Pretty, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast from Chipperish Media. I'm story expert and complete dork studying Taglerin mythic rights, Lonnie Diane Rich.
And I'm film scholar and demon on my mother's side, Noelle LaCroix. And we're here today to talk about Family, the 6th episode of season 5.
Family aired on November 7th, 2000, and was written and directed by Joss Whedon.
Still Pretty has always been and will remain a fully spoiled Buffy podcast because the best plot twists are the ones you already know about. You have evil inside of you and it will come out, and letting yourself work all this magic is only going to make it worse. All right, let's go on patrol. In Family, Tara worries about being useful to the gang, but Willow says she's not useful, she's essential. At Buffy's house, Buffy tells Giles about Dawn and says she has to protect her. They decide not to tell Dawn, or anyone, that she's a mystical key. Everyone helps to move Buffy out of her swank corner suite in the dorms, which, including vampires, demons, forces of darkness, and Angel's gravity-defying hairdo, remains the least believable thing in all of Buffy. As they're moving her, Tara makes a joke from deep within her expertise and no one gets it, and she feels awkward. Willow sends her away, then reminds everyone that it's Tara's birthday party the next night, which they totally didn't forget.
You have to bring presents, right? Birth is a present thing.
At the hospital, intern Ben goes into the locker room to change at the end of his shift. And just as he's getting all naked and vulnerable, a gross demon with bloody sores all over its face and a forked tongue heads toward Ben. But then, Glory steps in and grabs him.
I need a favor.
At the Magic Box, Buffy and Xander talk about Tara. They don't understand her, but she's super nice. While they try to figure out what to get for her birthday, a guy comes into the shop and starts asking questions and mocking the spells. Then Tara and Willow walk in, and it's clear this guy just got what he came for.
What's the matter? You don't have a hug for your big brother?
It's Tara's brother Donnie, and he's there for her birthday. Tara's dad comes in, along with her cousin Beth. Tara introduces them to everyone and is clearly uncomfortable. Her dad tells her he'll pick her up for dinner that night and leaves. At home, Buffy refuses to let Dawn go to her friend's house for dinner, and Riley questions her overprotectiveness. He can tell she's keeping something from him, but she won't tell him, and he goes off in a huff to Willie's to drink copiously and flirt with a vampire. Tara returns to her dorm to find her father there waiting for her. He tells her that he's taking her home before she turns 20 and starts to think critically, just like her mother did. I mean, before she turns 20 and becomes evil, just like her mother did. Tomato, tomato.
It doesn't feel evil.
Evil never does.
At Glory's place, she tries to get the Leok demon to give her information.
Blonde. Short. Strong for a human. And massively rude. Broke my shoe. Took my monk. Do you have any idea who I'm talking about?
He tells her it's a vampire slayer, and Glory commands him to gather his friends and kill her. The demon agrees. Willow goes to Tara's and asks her to come along for research night at the Magic Box. That sounds like a euphemism, but it's not. Tara says she's tired, and when Willow leaves, she goes into her books. Later, at the Magic Box, while everyone's gathered, Tara sneaks in and puts a spell on them to prevent them from seeing her demon side. At Spike's, Harmony returns from a shoplifting spree and tells Spike that there's a demon out there recruiting a group of demons to kill Buffy.
If the Slayer's gonna die, I'm gonna walk. watch.
Tara bumps into her cousin Beth at the campus, who figures out what she's done and wants to tell. Tara asks her not to, saying what she did was harmless, but back at the magic box, the demons show up to kill Buffy, and no one can see them.
You've been lying to these people for a year, and now you've put a spell on them. Is that right? Is that a human thing to do?
The demons attack, but since Buffy and the gang can't see them, they're hard to fight. Spike comes into the training room to watch the Leyak demons take Buffy out, but then he can't stop himself. He jumps into the fight and saves her. Buffy can't see him either, so she runs into the shop.
You're welcome.
In the shop, everyone is fighting invisible demons when Tara comes in and reverses the spell. Buffy kills the last Leyak demon, and then Tara's family comes in and spins their story of evil women turning demon and no longer wanting to cook the men's meals and wash the men's underwear. Tara's dad says he wants to take her away, but Tara doesn't want to go.
You want her, Mr. McClay? You can go ahead and take her. You just gotta go through me.
You don't want to mess with us.
She's a hair puller.
Anya asks what kind of demon it is, and Tara's dad can't answer. Then Spike figures it out. He hits Tara in the face and activates his chip, proving she's human.
It's just a family legend, am I right? Just a bit of spin to keep the ladies in line. You're a piece of work. I like you.
Later, at the Bronze, Tara has her birthday party and fits in with the group nicely. As she and Willow dance to a slow song, they float above the dance floor, smiling.
All right, Noelle, so here we are at Family, and I'm just curious, what'd you think? Do you like it?
It's the episode I totally forgot, so...
It is an episode that totally gets forgotten, but it's kind of a powerful episode. It's one of those surprises, you know, as you go through the season and you're reminded about what's going on in this episode. It's kind of like, wow, that was more powerful than I remember it.
There are bits of it that I really, really like, and there are bits of it that I just kind of go, whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's because I think probably because it's Whedon, it's really big with the themes and like, we're doing themes and everything is very connected. And part of me is like, yeah, that's great. And part of me is like, whatever. Like, I'm not.
Except it's not as connected as typical Whedon stuff is. We have a lot of things in here that are basically keeping the season-long story afloat, like the Riley bullshit, you know, the Spike being in love with Buffy stuff, you know, the let's not tell Dawn that she's a mystical key thing, Joyce's affliction, right? So all of these things are like kind of kept up in the air in various scenes throughout this episode. Everything else kind of works on the theme, although I think really it's just Tara's. I mean, the fact that it's Tara's birthday doesn't really work on this patriarchal theme that they got going on, you know, with Tara's family. The way that everybody like can't figure Tara out doesn't really necessarily speak to that. The only thing that this episode I think has is just that it's so deep in Tara's POV. I mean, it's basically like Tara's Zeppo.
A little bit, but there's also this theme of secrets and what you share with people and what you share. Like, I don't know. So I think it's interesting that it opens with Willow saying that if there were anything for them to know about the fight or about she doesn't know that there's been a fight. This is right after the events of the previous episode. Willow says if Buffy had found something at the factory, she would tell them. Cut to Buffy telling Giles about Dawn and them deciding not to tell anyone. And so it's this like, oh, if there's something to know, this person who is important to me will tell me, which of course then we get again at the end when Willow says to Tara, I can't believe you didn't tell me about your family, which first of all, I bounce pretty hard off this idea of I can't believe you didn't tell me XYZ just in fiction, in life. I don't know. There's just something about that seems, I want to say entitled, but that's not quite it. You know, the idea that if you are with someone that you tell each other every single thing and it's like, well, not necessarily. People are really complicated and there's stuff that maybe, you know, maybe you don't want to come right out and say, hey, I'm from some sort of a abusive
demon family.
cultish.
Right?
I'm not even sure. Like, I'm not sure what to make of Tara's family, but we'll get there.
Right.
But just the idea that keeping secrets is good, but also bad, but also we're all just sort of trusting each other in this core cast group. But people are not coming forward with kind of crucial information. I mean, to the point that when Giles mentions Buffy's father in that first scene with the two of them together, and Buffy reveals that he's in Spain with his secretary.
Right.
The way she says it, it's clear in the performance that Buffy has known this for a while and hasn't told anyone.
Yeah.
We are 3.5 minutes into the episode at this point, and we've already hit on this, like, not just the importance of family and, like, what is the family unit. In the first few minutes of the episode, we've dismissed the idea that Hank Summers is going to be part of the story from here on out, even though he is Buffy's family.
Right.
And we've already hit upon this idea that, you know, Willow's belief that if something is important, well, Buffy would tell us. And we learn that she assumes the same about Tara, that if something is important, well, Tara's going to tell her. But not necessarily, you know, that's not necessarily the case. We've got secrets and family secrets and family dynamics. I mean, 3 minutes into the episode. So, and then we hit upon this idea, right, that it's safer for everyone if they don't know. Well, is it? Like, is it really safer for everyone if they don't know? And isn't that kind of the logic behind the demon story within Tara's family, that it's safer for the women to keep them here where we can protect them, ostensibly. We can protect them from magic, which is going to enable them to see what? Their own power? Their own pleasure? What? Like, I'm so unclear.
Well, I think that it's just instilling this fear that they are evil, so they need to listen to the men and take care of the men, because otherwise they will be evil. Which, you know, I mean, as far as, like, you know, feminine controlling narratives go, is not that far off the mark from what we've already put in place, like, culturally. So I find that really interesting. But, you know, I mean, we have all these secrets, and we have, like, the upset that Riley has that Buffy's not telling him everything. And I think you're right there, but the secret thing almost feels more like a motif rather than a theme. Like, we have a bunch of secrets that are happening, but we're not really saying what that means. Like, is it bad that Buffy's keeping secret? Were secrets the big part of Tara's story? I don't think so. I think Tara's story, like, the big thing in Tara's story was, like, the direct manipulative lies from this this patriarchal institution that would, like, look to control her. So I think that's what sort of confuses me about families, that usually with Whedon, he is, like, dead on. Like, he's got a theme and he is going to beat it into the ground. And here it feels like we actually are talking about two different things depending on which part of the story we're in. At least that's how it feels to me. I don't know.
Well, I mean, maybe it's more that we want to hit all of these story bits and pieces within,
there's a lot of spinning
40
plates. Exactly.
minutes, and there's just, like, a lot going on.
Yes, I think that's what it is.
Which is maybe why it feels a little bit, I don't want to say disjointed to me, but it feels a little bit like there's good stuff here, but meh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good stuff? What's the stuff that you liked?
Oh my God. What's the stuff that I like? I love Amy Adams.
Yes.
I absolutely love Tara's cousin Beth. I love everything about this character, and the quiet, it's the quiet superiority.
Yes.
That she has, the way she holds this family dynamic over Tara, like this what is it? She's so sweet and so kind, oh, let me know if you need any help packing. And then Tara's like, I'm not leaving. And she flips and says, you selfish bitch. And I'm just like, damn, baby Amy Adams. Harsh. But at the same time, I feel like I know that person.
Oh, yeah.
That character. I mean,
that
I
person
think more
exists.
so.
Yeah.
I know. First of all, I know Tara's family. Like, I know these people, but also, I really know that Cousin Beth character.
And I think the best turn with Cousin Beth was when all of this is revealed at the end, and then she gives Tara a nasty look and says, "Are you happy now?"
Yeah.
Like, instead of being mad at the people she should be mad at, who have been lying to her and making her think she's a demon and evil in order to keep her, taking care of them and washing their freaking underwear, right? Instead, she looks at Tara and says, "Are you happy?" Like, she's still siding with power rather than with right, and not hesitating. There isn't a moment, you see the anger on her face, and for a moment you think maybe. But then she directs that anger at Tara, and it's not for a moment did her loyalty waver, despite the fact that she's a victim of all this bullshit too. So I find her fascinating and unbelievably accurate.
Frighteningly accurate.
Yeah, like the handmaidens of the patriarchy are real. Those women are out there, and they will cut down other women first before they turn toward the power and actually fight it. So I find that super interesting and a really, like, almost sharply accurate. Like, it kind of hurts a little bit. Like, you feel it a little bit between your ribs. You're like, oh,
yeah,
I feel that. I see that. Like, that was like super accurate. And I found that really interesting. I like that a lot too. What else did you like from the episode?
Well, I like this motif of family. I like the way, Buffy and Riley kind of play family when she gets home. Honey, I'm home. And he says, have a good day at work. And he's been moving her back into her mom's house. And then Buffy keeping Dawn home for family night, which she just pulled out of nowhere. There is no family night established
no family night.
in the Summers home, but she's grasping. She's like anything because she's so determined not to tell anyone about, what's going on with Dawn, that it's like, okay, I have to fabricate something to keep her here, which is exactly what Tara's family has done.
Right.
We have to fabricate something to keep her here.
Right. And I mean, in some ways, it's a similar narrative, right? I have to fabricate these lies in order to keep her safe because it is my job to protect her. Now, in Buffy's circumstance, that's legit true because this, like, very powerful lady, would super kill Dawn given the opportunity.
would extra kill her.
Right, right. Whereas, with this whole patriarchal, we must protect the women thing. And
by protect, we mean control.
By protect, we mean control. And, the best way to control somebody is to undermine their sense of self, their own confidence in themselves. That is such a classic method. I mean, it is the classics. They're going up on stage, they are throwing a concert, and they're playing all the big hits. Like, that is a classic. All the hits, yeah.
And I mean, even Tara's father he has his moments of sounding sort of compelling. Like, she is trying to stand up to him and says, it doesn't feel evil. Right. And he says, evil never does. And that's such a great,
that's probably kind of true. I think that most of the people doing evil, most of them, some of them know exactly what they're doing and they can fuck off. But I think most people, most people doing evil or doing bad things don't recognize it as that or have a number of justifications for it or whatever,
I would love to think that people do not get up in the morning and are like, Yes, let me do some evil today.
Well, yeah, I don't think anybody does. I think that there are some people who are like, okay, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to do what suits me. And if it hurts somebody, I don't care. So it is evil without them like necessarily caring. They don't care whether it's evil. They'll do whatever suits them. For most people, I don't think that there are a lot of people, which is why these villains, generally in storytelling always come off a little flat, like the I'm doing evil for evil's sake. I mean, just like the classic example is the guy, who ties the girl to the railroad tracks from the classic silent, era movies. And, like, why? Why would you? What would possibly do you have to gain from time? First of all, it's exhausting. She's fighting you the whole way. Second of all, you've got to go to the store. You've got to get the rope. You've got to get the stuff. Next, you got to go all the way out to the train tracks, which is always inconvenient, especially back then when your modes of travel were not quite as convenient as they are today. Nobody, you didn't have a truck you could put her in. You didn't have a windowless van back then. You got to get out. You got to start this car. She's tied up in the back. I mean, it is a job of work, right? So like, why? And then for what? So that the guy has time to come and save her before the train comes. Like, if you're going to kill somebody, just shoot him in the head and go about your day, So what I'm saying is that like evil for evil's sake tends to be in our stories simply protagonist based. Like, we're just looking at it from the protagonist's point of view, that here's somebody doing evil and I don't care why. When you go through a villain's point of view and you see why they're doing bad things, that's when it gets really interesting. If you do that well, then you've got a story that crunches,
Especially if they're as delightful in their evil doing as Glory is.
Oh my
There's
God.
not enough Glory in this episode. That's my other big
Your
complaint.
big problem is just not enough Glory.
She's
Glory
so
is
good.
so cute. I mean, I love that moment too. And then when she comes in, like, there's Ben getting undressed, right? And because this is a fully spoiled Buffy podcast, the Buffy or the Ben is Glory is Ben thing, right? So we don't know that at this time. And then she just shows up and it looks like she's saving Ben. But she's not, because she is Ben, so that's all weird. But it's so fun. She just grabs this very, very gross demon. Also, the demon design on this, I have to say, is totally gross, very good, but totally gross. And
Very
as he's
Pennywise.
Yeah, as this actor is working with this incredibly, I don't even know, practical effect of the forked tongue. Like how much extra tongue that dude had in his mouth. It makes me want to gag. Just look, I'm like, ugh. Like I would never be able to do that, It's really good though. I love when she's like, you have the cutest little separating sores. Anybody ever tell you that? I'm like, okay, that's really cute. Like she's just cute.
Wonderful. She is so wonderful. I love her closet. I love her whole setup. I love that she's got this demon strapped to a clothes rod, like he is a prop in her backstage area, which he kind of is.
No, he super is. And then when she comes up to him, she's like, yeah, I just want you to kill this Slayer for me. And he's like, sure. I mean, this guy did not seem at all averse to any. Did she have to kidnap him and tie him up? Maybe that was just for fun,
I think it's, it's just way more fun.
Right.
If you can. It's just way more fun to tie up your demon.
Yes, absolutely. Demons need to be tied up.
But her reaction to a Slayer. Oh, God. Please don't tell me I was fighting a vampire Slayer. How unbelievably common.
I know. And then we get this thing where she says, if I had any friends, which is a nice little kind of clue to her isolation, her loneliness, which is interesting. And I love the whole broke my shoe, stole my monk,
Do you know who I'm talking about?
You know who I'm
She's
talking about?
so good. Everything.
Yes.
Every line. She's so wonderful. And the implication with the giant closet that it's like, well, if I have to have this weird human body that does all the gross human body stuff, might as well have a closet full of clothes. And, you know, a nice little bit of foreshadowing there with, you know, we go from Ben getting undressed to Glory in her closet full of clothes. So we've linked them, you know, beyond just having them in the locker room.
In the same space at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting. And when you go back, this is the thing too, is like you have this twist coming, right? And when you watch it knowing what's coming and nothing that we were being shown is inconsistent with the reality, then, you know, they didn't lie. And as long as they didn't lie to me in setting up their twist, go ahead. Have a great time. Just don't lie to your audience about it, you know? So it's always kind of fun going through season 5, knowing what we know, to kind of see if there are any points at which they lie, and they just don't. They just don't. So that was really good. I also really enjoy Spike in this episode for as little as he shows up. He's got his little obsession with Buffy. We have his dream while he's, you know, sleeping with Harmony, or actually his fantasy while he is fucking Harmony. Let me be more specific.
Let's not mince words here, shall we?
Exactly. It's all about specificity and communication. So I love this. I love he's sitting there. He's staring at this mannequin head that represents Buffy for him. He's in this like deep in love obsession place. Then Harmony comes back, tells him that somebody's going to kill Buffy. He goes to watch. He goes there to watch because he wants to see her dead, and then he cannot stop himself, you know?
And the eye roll is priceless.
God, I know. I mean,
his disgust with himself.
I know. It's so great. I love that inner conflict with him, especially because this is something that feels outside of his control. Like, I don't think that he can do anything other than love Buffy, that he can... He can't sit there. He just physically can't do it. And so it's so fun the way that he rolls his eyes and he throws himself into the fight, and then he's like, "You're welcome." But of course she can't see him, but he doesn't know that. Then he comes running out, right? And he's watching over this whole thing, you know, evolving with Tara and her family. And then of course it's Anya who asks the right question. What kind of demon is it? Right?
So good.
Oh my God. It's so good. I love Anya. And then it's Spike who figures it out. And when he goes and he punches Tara in the face, activates his chip, she's human, he figures it out. And he says, "Oh, this is something you do, a family legend to keep the women in line." Everything falls into place, you know, because of Spike. And that wasn't something that he did necessarily because he loves Buffy. He just did it because I think he wanted to prove, you know, he'd figured it out. He'd solved that puzzle. So the evil that is Spike, and Spike is evil, and we'll try not to forget that, doing good things, because it's easy to forget when you start to adore Spike.
Yeah.
He does good things not because he's good. And this is the problem with Spike, right? He saves Buffy not because he's doing something good for Buffy. He's doing it for himself because he loves her, right?
Right.
He's you know, illuminating this whole thing with Tara and her family, not because he feels for Tara and he wants to do the right thing and show these bad people. He just figured it out and he's showing off, right?
Yeah,
you know?
He loves to do this. We've seen Spike do some version of this in a group or by himself before, where he sees what's going on immediately and then does something to indicate that he sees. I mean, we've talked before about how Spike sees the truth about relationships, and Spike sees the truth about what's going on with everybody and what they're trying to hide.
Yeah.
I think because he's so invested in story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he definitely is. And it's just so much fun. This is my favorite. Like, I love the whole Spike run from School Hard to Chosen. I love everything in between. I love everything with Spike. But this particular part of it, he's in love with Buffy. He's doing good despite himself, that he does good because, I mean, fighting demons is the only thing he can do, and he wants that violence. So he does that. Like, he's in this corner where he's forced to, like, not be himself, and yet through that being forced to be good and do good, it changes him so fundamentally. I love all of it. I love all of it. I love also that he has no choice in any of it. Like, choice is the most important thing in telling stories. Choice is the most important thing in characters and in showing us who they are. But there's something about Spike's lack of choice in so much of this that makes every choice he makes so much more powerful, so much more interesting. And I absolutely love what we do with the Spike arc. I think it's fantastic.
I think what's great about him, the choices that he does make, is that he clearly thinks he's in control.
Oh, yeah.
In the moment, he thinks he's in control. He thinks he's just going to go watch the Slayer die.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, Spike, no, honey, if you bring the entire family-sized bag of potato chips into your lair, you're going to eat the entire family-sized bag of potato chips. Like, they're designed for you to eat all of them.
Right.
Like, watching Buffy die is no, I will just have one Oreo of Spike's relationship to the things he loves. I mean, that was just the most muddled metaphor I could ever hope to
I
craft.
get it, though. I get it. It's the unrealistic expectation and also the lack of questioning. Like, you go into it and you're like, no, absolutely, this is what's going to happen. That is not what's going to happen.
This will completely work.
Spike,
Not
you are
at all.
self-deluded. Yeah. And speaking of self-deluded, shall we talk a little bit about Riley? Although, actually, that's not a very good segue into Riley. He's not that self-deluded. I think he knows what he is, but he's on a descent into darkness, and we're starting this whole thing. I mean, this thing has been building up for a while, but now we see him, being upset because Buffy's not telling him everything. He knows that there's something going on that she's not telling him.
Fair play to Riley.
Mm-hmm.
He's there and he's helping and he's like making himself available and he's doing the boyfriend thing and he's trying to be supportive. And there's clearly shit going on and she's not telling. I'm just like, I have so had it. See, now we're on the things that Noelle does not like about this episode. I have just had it with them not having a conversation. Like, he makes that snide little remark when, Buffy says that Dawn makes her crazy and Riley makes this snide remark to suggest that he was thinking that she was the crazy one, and crazy, loaded, problematic word.
Yes.
That I am going to use because we're using it in the show in a specific way. Maybe
but
that's
with
not
the
a great
acknowledgement that it's not a good word, and we understand that, but it is what it is the language that the show is using.
Especially within the context of this character type of the crazy girl or the crazy woman or the crazy girlfriend.
Right.
I'm dismissing what's going on with this person by using this word.
Yes.
To belittle them.
Yes.
So Riley makes this unfortunate remark, but there's still no attempt by either of them to have a conversation. And I get it. They're 20. They're but I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of
it's an old gong to hit. Yeah, exactly. Like, they hit it over and over and over again. And the thing is, in the same way that you build up a good, strong relationship in fiction by showing how well people work together, when you show people lying to each other, that is how you also build up a shitty relationship, and it's lying now, but it's always been that Buffy has always kept things from Riley and when opportunity comes for them to talk, not even for her to confess anything that she might have kept from him or lied to him about, but just to talk and say, I feel this thing. When you do this, I feel this, or something like that. Granted, yes, they're 20, but also they're 20 in actual reality. But as far as the show goes, these are adults. Buffy has been coded adult since she was 16.
Right.
So you still kind of have to, even though
Riley even more so.
Exactly. And reality is no defense, nor is it a condemnation for fiction. The relationship between fiction and reality is, is tenuous at best, right? Fiction is a heightened sense of reality. So like the facts of a fiction, like that, that Buffy was 16 when she started killing vampires, does not at all take away from the fact that Buffy has been an adult since day one, in the way that she runs her life, in the way that she interacts with people. Like, she technically lives with her mom, but her mom is almost never there. She's an adult until we want to have a conflict vending machine come in the form of Joyce, right?
Right.
But they're coded this way, the same way that demons are coded human, right? They're human. They're just an evil particular kind of human, right? So that's how we code these demons so that we can account for their evil. And then of course we go into this very complicated space where not all demons are actually evil and not all humans are good, as we can see. Because we do this thing where humans have a soul and that makes them good, and demons don't have a soul and that makes them evil. Except that this shit with Tara's family, full on evil. Like that kind of fucking with somebody's head so you control them. That is full on evil, and that is a particularly human brand of evil.
Yeah, I'm going to take this thing that is unique and beautiful and special about you, aka you're really good at magic.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, aka you're gay, and make it you're a demon.
Yeah.
I mean, nice extension of the homosexuality is a sin,
well, yeah, because
line of thought that is,
at this point in our story, magic is somewhat an analog for being gay, for homosexual lifestyle.
Lesbianism specifically, I would argue.
I think you're right. No, I think you're right. And magical lesbian, like it is in itself magical. Magical.
Lesbianism is magical, but that's a different podcast that I will be doing at some point. Maybe, I don't know. Lesbianism.
It's magical.
Anyway,
yeah, definitely. But yeah, Riley, I think, then he goes off to the bar, and this is his descent into darkness, right? We're going to see this get worse and worse and worse as he goes. But he goes to the bar. He has a couple of shots. He talks to this vampire, and he says, "I don't flirt with vampires." But this is the vampire, though, that Willow turned, evil Willow and Doppelgangland turned during the raid on the Bronze. So this I find interesting that we use that character, whose name is Sandy. So, and textually she was Sandy in Doppelgangland. She's Sandy here. And the same actress. So I just find that it's a nice little callback to Doppelgangland, which was also written by Joss Whedon.
Give it up for Vamp Sandy.
Give it up for Vamp Sandy and Riley's darkness. But this is one of the things, too, that I wanted to talk about a little bit with Whedon, because I'm kind of curious about the fact that he wrote this episode, right? Joss Whedon, as a showrunner, typically writes the season premiere and the season finale, like the big episodes, right? And then every now and again, he'll write one in the midst of a season. In season 2, he did Lie to Me and he did Ted, and those are, interesting episodes, not necessarily the kind of showstoppers that we expect from a Whedon written episode. But since then, though, the ones that he wrote that were not premieres or finales are Innocence, which was huge, Amends, which I would say is a lot bigger than I think than most people give it credit for, and it really is the season premiere of the Angel television show. Doppelgangland, which was a big one. Hush, Who Are You, which is the body swap with Faith.
Yep.
And then we have now Family. And then next we're going to see The Body and Once More with Feeling. And those are the only other two that he does that are not premieres or finales. So I find it really interesting that Joss Whedon, who can choose any episode that he wants to write, any episode, anything, chose to write Family. It feels a little bit... It feels like it's not big enough You know, it's not like a big enough episode to really warrant him wanting to do it. So I'm curious. I mean, I have no idea. Maybe he did it because whoever was supposed to write it was sick, and so he covered for them, or like something, or they couldn't write it and he just took over. I have absolutely no idea. But I find it really interesting, especially because the typical kind of cohesiveness that you see from Whedon doesn't feel that present here. But the Tara side of the story, the Tara and her family and this unbelievably accurate cousin Beth character, all of these things feel like a very sharp Whedon observation about men and patriarchy. And we even have Giles using the word patriarchal when he's describing his role during Buffy's move out, which doesn't feel like an accident to me.
No. Well, partly because that scene of them moving her out of her dorm is very much establishing this group as a family, even giving them the, like, I do not buy for 1 second that Riley and Xander would come to blows over name calling, but that is so the brothers kind of a relationship. That is so a brother thing to do. He started it. He called me a name.
Oh, boys, right? Boys will be
and
boys.
And it gives Giles something to, to glower out.
Right.
What is it
to glower and scold, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta keep the rowdy brothers in line.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's almost, it does feel much more subtle though than one might expect from a Whedon-penned episode.
Yeah, Whedon usually has it almost feels like Whedon wrote the main story, the family story, and then everything else was like bits and pieces just sort of put in to wrap around it. I don't know. It feels like a very weird episode for a Whedon episode. But one of the things that I actually really kind of enjoyed about this, though, is that it is essentially Tara's Zeppo. Right? We are deep in Tara's POV in the scenes in which Tara appears. It's not the whole episode the way that the Zeppo was, where we're just seeing everything from Xander's point of view. But we're so deep into Tara's POV. Like, as much as she feels awkward, I doubt it was anywhere near that awkward from anybody else's. The whole insect reflection thing, I doubt anybody else even noticed or whatever, but she felt that so deeply. And we have this turn at the end with Buffy, where Buffy says, if you want Tara, go ahead and take her, right? And so we have this moment where we feel like Buffy is saying, I can spare her, I don't care, but then she turns and says, you're gonna have to go through me. And that is such a big moment. And the only reason why I'm not calling foul on that moment, that they're lying to us, they're faking us out, they're trying to make us believe that Buffy would actually allow the father to take Tara, except that we're so deep in Tara's POV that we are experiencing this the way that Tara is. And Tara's fears, the second Buffy says, go ahead and take her, Tara's fears are being confirmed. So we're seeing this deeply through her POV. So for me, because of that, I think that it works. It replicates Tara's read of the room, which isn't accurate, but it's her read, that she doesn't matter, that she's not part of the group. I want to be helpful to the group. And Willow says, you're not helpful, you're essential, or something like that. But she says you're essential, which is something that Tara does not believe about herself,
Right.
So, so I love that whole thing. I especially love that Dawn is the first to step up behind Buffy, because Dawn and Tara, that relationship is really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. The relationship between Dawn and Tara is probably one of my favorite things.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel like that moment with Buffy saying, go ahead and take her. And then, you're going to have to come through me doesn't work as well for me as it does for you, I think. But when Dawn steps up, that's when I'm like, oh no, that's when the waterworks threatened to start, because Buffy has not been at her best in the last couple of episodes. And here, I mean, even earlier on with Tara, Tara's birthday is like this, oh, crap, we all kind of forgot. And then Buffy and Xander in the fucking magic box. I don't know what to get her for her birthday. I don't know what she likes. And I like Xander saying, well, I know she likes Willow, but she's already got one of those. Which is great. But it's like, and I love Giles calling them on it.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
know.
You're in a magic shop.
You're in a magic shop.
And you can't think what Tara would like.
Right.
I believe you're both profoundly stupid. Like, Tara is not in that scene, but it does, that scene does seem to confirm her fears that she's not that important to the group. She's kind of still an outsider. She's kind of an afterthought.
Yeah.
That they're not, you know, and Giles calling out Buffy and Xander, you know, really, I mean, it's subtle and it's funny, but yeah, you guys, like, come on, not cool. You haven't paid attention enough to make that connection.
Right.
You're in a magic shop. Give me a break. So
yeah.
I don't know. And that, which brings me sort of nicely, I guess, to something that I struggle with this episode. And I don't know, maybe this is just me. But this struggle that Tara has of wanting to be part of the group, but then needing to be chosen by the group. She's not, backing up. The episode is called Family, right? And by the end, we've pretty clearly established that your family is the people that you choose to be your family. But Tara doesn't really get to make that choice. This isn't a story about Tara going out and finding her people. I mean, since her first appearance, Tara has been chosen. She's not the one doing the choosing.
Right.
And that just, I don't know. It puts a bad taste in my mouth from a queer chosen family narrative specifically.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've been hinting at subtly and not so subtly all along with Tara and Willow. You know, obviously now they are much more textually involved. Although, how have they not kissed on screen yet? I'm having a conniption.
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I know we're getting there.
Right.
But we have, in this episode, we have Anya and Xander, very physically affectionate. We have Buffy and Riley, very physically affectionate. The episode is practically about Tara and Willow. At least it's bookended.
Yeah.
Tara and Willow. And
we
they haven't kissed on screen yet.
They haven't kissed, and it sucks. We did get a cuddle.
Yeah, we get a cuddle, which is that scene
sweet.
with them in bed is very sweet.
Yeah, but I know
but
it's not the kind of thing that we normalize with heterosexual couples. I mean, look at the first kiss between Buffy and Angel, right? You know,
I don't even remember it.
Right.
It was
an Angel.
I really don't.
It was in season 1, episode 7, Angel, where he was in her bedroom after they'd had a fight. He kisses her, he turns into a vamp, and then he flies out the window.
Right. See, it's like it's only a giant turning point for that romantic narrative, and
it's okay, baby. You have plenty of things to think about. You do not need to remember every detail of Buffy. That's what I am here for.
Okay,
and I don't even remember them all.
Also, if it's boys and girls kissing, I'm like, whatever.
Right. Yeah. You know, but I mean, the thing is that we have absolutely no hesitation about showing a 16-year-old girl making out with a 240-year-old man, right? I mean, that's not a taboo. Okay. Granted, some of that is unrealistic, blah, 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 whatever, because we're dealing with
reality,
vampires. So
fiction. We just did that little go around.
Fiction, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying. So all of that aside, but I'm just saying that, like, here we have two women and we cannot show them in romantic physical affection, but we have absolutely no problem showing it between our heterosexual couples, like, all the time. So yes, it is something that that needs a little work, and we are going to get there. But yeah, it would have been nice to have been able to have that the way that if this had been a heterosexual couple, we would have had them kissing a long time ago.
Well, and if this were, again, 20 years ago, if this were made now,
right,
they would have,
yeah,
a long time ago. And I think it bothers me specifically in this episode because A, there's opportunity, and B, there is this story about that's not even, it's not even that thinly veiled at this point, that we're talking about, we're saying magic, but we mean queerness. We're talking about we're talking about Tara's lifestyle. Cousin Beth says, you're down here living whatever, we know exactly what we're actually talking about.
Right.
With this family dynamic.
Yes.
And then the story of chosen family, except as I say, I feel like it's undermined a little bit because this is the family that chooses Tara rather than having this be a story about her
making
finding
that
her
choice.
own people. Like, she's still the whole thing with your chosen family is that they accept you.
Right.
And Buffy and co are still kind of on the fence about that. Not that they don't accept her. She's nice.
Yeah.
They just don't really notice her or know what to do with her. And so it's great. I love it. I love the scene at the end where they, all stand up together and are like, yeah, you're going through all of us. If you think you're going to take Tara away from us. But it's still, she's so passive. And she really is passive, I think, more often than not.
Well,
for as long as she's on the show.
She's our damsel. No, not as long as she's on the show. Not unlike Anya. Tara gets a lot better when she breaks up with Willow. Once, I think the problem with Anya and a similar problem with Tara, though not quite as bad because Willow doesn't treat Tara terribly the way that Xander treats Anya. But there is something that they are extensions of their romantic partner until they're not, and then suddenly they can be their own character. And they kind of come out of that. Tara is the damsel. I mean, she is the one that we, throw in the way of the demons. She's the one who's about to get, whammied by Glory. Like, that's what Tara's role predominantly is, despite the fact that we see her exhibiting a great deal of competence, and we allow her to use it. I mean, she did a spell with Giles early on, and ran the spell and saved the day. She's the one who saw that Buffy wasn't Buffy, and who are you?
Yep.
She's the one who has the ability to see and to do, and she has all this knowledge. And yet we tend to just make her the damsel, the incredibly vulnerable one that we all have to take care of and save and protect. And so I find that a poor use of Tara, that just because she is sweet and kind and emotionally connected doesn't mean that she is weak. But that's kind of how she is presented, in the show.
This is why we need more lesbian witches writing our lesbian witch characters.
We really, really do. Really do. Speaking of which, lesbian witch, what are you wearing? Sorry, are you out as a witch?
Am I out as a witch?
I know you're out as a lesbian. You talk about it all the time. But I'm like, oh, has she been outed as a witch? I don't know. I can change that. I can change
No, I love it. I love it so much. That's hilarious. You're so funny. I'm not sure how I feel about this. But everyone looks very dressed up at the bronze at the end.
Yes. For the party.
Real dressed up. And they look great, and it looks beautiful, and I don't know what to make of it. I don't know.
Right, because it's a 20-year-old's birthday party, right?
Well, and at the bronze specifically, and Giles is there in a full suit and tie, and it's a little. It's a
And
touch
Dawn-
wedding-y.
Yes, it is very wedding-y. Dawn has got these curls in, right?
Oh my goodness. Dawn just looks so cute.
I know.
And
But
her
she
little
surely
remark
templed it
about
up.
only
yeah.
losers drink alcohol.
Only losers drink alcohol.
Like, oh, baby.
Oh,
Sweet baby
that was
Dawn.
really cute.
But I don't know. I mean, obviously it's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeply meaningful. I don't know what it means. Like,
Right.
I don't know what to say about
It
it.
does feel like a wedding, though. You're right. I hadn't really picked up on that, but it has that very special occasion wedding feel, and it's a 20-year-old's birthday party, which, you know, my birthday party when I was 20 was jeans and a t-shirt, you know? Like, I mean, I don't know. It does feel a little bit odd. Yeah.
But it also feels really good. Like, there's
Mhm.
something really great about it. And of course, we get that lovely interaction between Tara and Willow at
Mhm.
the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't quite know. Maybe it is to put some ceremony on this. Tara is part of the group. It's like it is sort of a marriage in that she is now part of this Scooby family.
Mm-hmm.
Officially. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It felt very meaningful.
Yeah.
And kind of odd, but
Mhm.
I mean, you know me. I love to see everybody dressed up. Like,
Yeah.
it's my favorite.
It's
My
fun.
favorite on the
It's
show
fun. Yeah.
of all time. I don't know. And I talked about Glory's amazing closet already and how she is theatrical. So anything she does
Yeah.
has this very like backstage kind
It
of.
does have a very backstage feel. Yeah. No, I like that. All right. So what's your girl power moment of the week?
Oh, not with a girl pal, bitch.
We didn't talk much about Willow in this episode.
No.
And everything that she's going through with this strange appearance of her girlfriend's family. But at the end, when Willow is trying to, you know, really zoom in on Tara and, you know, asking her what she wants, and Tara's father says, "It's not up to you, young lady," and Willow just turns and snaps at him. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
And turns back to Tara, and I'm just, like, I'm not scared of you, you patriarchal dickhead, but
Right.
just, you know, like, there's something so empowered in that moment of, this is none of your fucking business, dude.
Mm-hmm.
This is about what Tara wants, and Willow standing up for both herself and her partner
Mm-hmm.
in that way. Just like, I mean, it gets me right in the feels.
Yeah.
And also just, you want Tara, you got to go through Dawn.
Right.
Itty bitty little Dawn is going to stand there like
Yeah.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And I'm just, but I believe it too.
Yeah.
I believe that Dawn would punch out, you know, all
yeah.
three of them.
Oh,
if
absolutely.
given the opportunity.
Absolutely.
She's
Absolutely.
badass. Do not
She
mess
is.
with Dawn.
She is. And that's, you know, now that we've got this nice transition into the favorite part, I mean, that's my favorite part. You got to go through me. She's a hair puller. I love that whole thing. I love that whole moment. I mean, it's nice when Buffy turns around and says, you got to go, you want to take her against her will, you got to go through me. And then I love the fact that out of everybody there, Dawn is the next one to stand up. And Dawn looks like she is about to throw the fuck down. Like, I would not want to be on the business end of Dawn at that point, you know?
Right?
So yeah, I love that moment. What's your favorite part?
Okay. It's not my favorite part for Delight,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
but Tara addressing her father as Sir
Mm-hmm.
is my favorite part.
Yeah.
Not because I enjoy it, but
Mhm.
because it is so stinking efficient in telling us what we need to know about
yeah.
this father-daughter relationship,
Mhm.
about this dynamic.
Yeah.
It gives me chills
Mm-hmm.
with its narrative efficiency.
Yes, it is. It
And
is
the
very
way
powerful.
she says
Mhm.
it with that
Mhm.
little, you know, there's fear behind it.
Yeah.
It's,
Mhm.
I'm calling him Sir, not because I respect him,
Right.
but because I am afraid of what will happen to me if I don't.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's those not fun favorite parts.
It
that
is,
just
but
gut
you're
you.
right, though. I mean, it's incredibly efficient, incredibly powerful writing, and what you can do with just one word, you know, is it's a great lesson for writers that you can do a lot with just one word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking delight, because I mean, we are chipperish media here. I got to give it to Giles with you're in a magic shop and you can't think what Tara would like. I believe you're both profoundly stupid.
It's very cute. It's very cute.
If you enjoyed this conversation and would like to join in, come find us on social media. Lonnie is at Lonnie Diane Rich on Twitter, and I am at Noella Loud on Instagram, and the hashtag is Still Pretty.
And this episode of Still Pretty was brought to you by the Chipperish media producers who support us on Patreon at the power producer level. These people are the reason why Still Pretty is coming to you free and ad-free right now. So thank you to our April producers, Sarah, Shelley, Kristen, Alice, Erica, Abigail, and Jonathan. And this week's special message for our power producers: you have the cutest little separating sores. Has anyone ever told you that?
Shockingly, no. To find out how you too can support Chipperish Media, visit patreon.com/chipperish. Other ways to show your support: write a great review on Apple Podcasts, tell your friends about the show, or have a place in the world now because you're a working gal.
We'll be back next time with Fool for Love, the 7th episode of season 5, and oh my god, I can't wait. I may be, you know, showing my hand a little bit on that. But anyway, until then, no, see, because your insect reflection represents your insignificance in the karmic cycle.
He's still not funny.